Yeah, streaming on YouTube.
Cool. Welcome, everyone. We're live, finally. Oh, my God.
Hey, how's it going?
God.
Come on, Milesy. Come and join us. We're live.
On a bulldog for a skin scrape. Let me just close all these 100 tabs I had to open to sort this out.
Milesy's joining us live as well.
Cool. And hello, Pixel.
Boy,
Let me just get this pop-out chat so we can see what's going on. We've got Milesy.
Sorry for all the palaver, everybody. We had a nightmare trying to get this streaming on YouTube, but we're here now, and it's all happening. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for bearing with us.
Yeah, I started my day by filming a vape video today. First vape review video that I've done for a little while, and it was for the StemPod SI, a comparison between the StemPod SI, the StemPod 2.0, and the Splinter. So that should be coming to YouTube pretty soon.
Yeah, look though.
I know. Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Poor baby.
Sorry, I'm just getting the Zoom link put up in our chat so that people can come and join us if they wish.
Nice. Have you got in your mouth, Milesy? What is that? Just your tongue?
I also need to send it to Ladybuds because Ladybuds is going to come and join us today.
Oh, cool.
He's sitting on. Look, try and sit on the ball. Down. Good boy. Good boy. Sorry.
Sorry, it doesn't appear on the chat when we talk. It's okay. Oh, thank you, Maxiliano Espinoza, saying I'm a very beautiful girl. Thank you.
Thank you, Mix.
There you go. Nice.
I mean, there's about I can go dig up 20 other quite atrocious comments if I would like to, but let's not do that. But since we've got Milesy and George on the stream, I can give you guys your presents. I mean, they are really more for Milesy, but the humans. Yeah, George can have some too.
Let's not exclude anyone.
So this is a Milesy specific present.
Ah, salmon bites, Milesy. Look.
Salmon bites.
Salmon bites.
Oh, he's excited about that. Good boy. Good
and
boy.
I thought there couldn't be a more specifically Milesy suitable product.
Fox poo. Milesy. That's just what you like, isn't it? Fantastic.
Smell the fox poo or the?
No, it removes the odor of Fox's shit.
Poo, right.
Because I think there's probably like 3 times a month George will come in and be like, "Oh, Milesy's rolled in some Fox's shit again."
Oh, I'm glad it's not actually 3 times a month. That would be a nightmare. But yeah, it's far too often for my liking. Anyway, Milesy loves fox poo.
Yeah, I've
One of his favourite things.
Milesy, so I saw the fox poo shampoo and I was like, yeah, Milesy.
I thought that was the scent of it, as in, you know, like when you get a shampoo and it's like ylang ylang and the hyacinth.
Yeah.
Fox poo.
Let me just let the guys on Vapefiend's Discord know that we're live, that we're finally live. Put it in general vape chat too.
Nice.
How is the StemPod, George? Have you been testing it more since?
Yeah, I have actually. I really like the SI. I've decided definitely it's a vast improvement on the original StemPod or the StemPod 2.0. The design of it works much better. It's the body of it, the entire body of it is silicone, and the whole thing comes off like this, which is very cool. So, and you can swap that whole thing.
Yeah.
So you can have like a green one or a black one. You can have whatever you want. And that is the whole sort of body of it. That's what makes the seal with the mouthpiece. So it works really well because of the silicone. It's a really nice, tight, airtight seal.
There you go.
Thank you very
And
much.
then it's also kind of unbreakable because it's just got this, it's just metal and that silicone body. So the only bit that you can break is the mouthpiece. And there's such a variety of mouthpieces. They do all have some element of glass, but there's this one, for example, which has got a sort of rubber cap on, sort of rubber mouthpiece tip. So that's pretty solid. So yeah, it works nicely as a more like break-proof version of the Splinter. And it heats up a little bit faster than the Splinter, I think. The one I've been using most is this one, which is like a bit like the Exhalator mouthpiece, but thinner, so it fits better in your mouth. And the flavor on that is great. What I did find is that the flavor on the Splinter is always just a little bit better. You get slightly more of those like lighter, piney, grassy flavors, you know, the really fresh herb flavors, that kind of thing. You get that a lot more through the Splinter, and I guess that's because of the glass chamber, you know, glass chamber straight into a glass mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Whereas this has obviously got the silicone and it's got like smaller metal coils, which I think heat a bit hotter.
Yeah, they
So
have to get hotter in order to actually cause the vaporization to happen. That was
yeah.
something I remember Ryan was talking to us about originally with when we were looking into both. He was saying essentially that his was better because it didn't have to get as hot, but I'm not sure it makes that much of a difference as long as the material of the coil is actually suitable, which is they've taken that into account with the StemPod.
Yeah, it's pretty good coil material, I'd say. You can see it here on the Milesy cam, sort of. It's thicker than your average like e-cig tank coil. And obviously it is user replaceable. It's really easy to replace those. So that's great. You can't replace parts on the Splinter. You don't have to replace the coil, but you do sometimes break the glass on the Splinter. That has been an issue that people have encountered. So
yeah,
and that's not repairable. You know, once you break the glass on the Splinter, that's your Splinter kind of dead, unless you've done it within the first month or something. Then it's covered by warranty. But otherwise, you know, the whole thing's gone, which is a big downside. So for me, it's down to like which one is. One of them is much more kind of convenient and hard wearing, and the other one is better for flavor, but it's not so hard wearing. So it really is a toss up. They're both really good actually, and if you put them through water and that kind of thing, you get the same kind of really big hits. So they're both great, but
well, speaking of toss up,
yeah, so it's
there was they threw it out of the window.
What, the StemPod?
Yeah, they used to post videos of themselves chucking it out of the window and then say you can't do that with your Splinter, and like it was quite a good marketing technique because loads of people would just say, yeah, if you throw a Splinter out of the window, it's gonna break, and it's just sort of like I don't know.
You're not meant to do that.
I don't know if that's necessarily like.
I generally don't use my Splinter while jumping out windows, but you know.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, we've got an extra person in the room who's not got their camera on. Or microphone, for that matter.
DJ, we can't have you lurking in our room. You must turn your camera on if you want to join in. Otherwise, I'm going to boot you. And that means you'll never be able to join again. Because once you're booted, you're banned from this meeting. And it's a recurring meeting. So either take yourself out or turn your camera on, DJ, or I'm going to do it for you. And that's not what you want. Trust me.
Oh, we've just had a sudden flush of people coming through to the room. We've got Paul B saying good morning. Ricky Beck asking you, are those Haps Hash posters on your wall? Craig Fielding saying that he can't make it tonight. Max Vapor saying working on it. And Don Marteng saying hello.
Hello. Yeah, Haps Hash posters. I'll show you. Yeah, let me show you on the Milesy cam.
His wife turns Finnish.
That's my favourite one, and these are actually signed by the artist Nigel Weymouth. So yeah, this was an old CIA UFO poster from back in the early days of Pink Floyd.
Sorry.
Cool.
And then we've got a Jimi Hendrix one over here. And this one is UFO as well. UFO was like a North London psychedelic rave that used to happen in the 60s. And that's where Pink Floyd came from.
Mm.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's very cool. That I read about that in Nick Mason's book, which I
Yeah,
recommend reading if you haven't. Like to anyone
yeah.
in the chat. He's a really good writer, actually.
I just realised we don't have a books section of the Discord. We have a hobby section.
We have hobbies. I'll put up books. I'll put up a books section. I can do that now. Power of technology.
What would you put in the book section other than Nick Mason's?
What, me personally, or
Yeah.
I'd put The Dawn of New Eve.
yes, no, the Passion of New
Passion of New Eve. That's
Passion of
it.
New
Sorry.
Delia recommended that book to me. Actually, she was like, "It's really, really good. You should definitely read it." I read it. I really, really enjoyed it, and then I gave the book back to her as a gift, as like an effigy to her art piece,
Nice.
along with some apricots.
Which is funny.
Hey, Max Vapor.
On that.
Welcome.
Oh, Max Vapor.
Hello.
Hey. David Walliams. No, thank you. Absolutely no David Walliams here. 0%. We will extinguish any David Walliams we see.
I'm trying to think what I last read that I really enjoyed. I'm nearly finished with Notes from a Country Doctor by Bulgakov, which is a really interesting book. It's very like weirdly cozy. I'm really enjoying it so far. And Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers, definitely, because it's what the film Stalker and then the game Stalker is based on. But I just really, really enjoyed the book. I think there's some. I think both of those things are good on their own merits, but the book is really enjoyable as well. So I would highly recommend.
Nice. I just finished reading on the Internet Archive. It was free, so I started reading it on there and finished it. And it's called "Stick It Up Your Punter: The Rise and Fall of the Sun." And it's all about my former boss, who, before he was my boss, he was the editor of the Sun newspaper in the UK, Kelvin Mackenzie, one of the worst human beings that's ever walked the face of the earth. And I could testify to that because he was my boss. But yeah, he was even worse when he was editor of the Sun newspaper. Some of the stuff he did was absolutely horrific, culminating in the Hillsborough disaster front page splash, which was entirely lies and ruined people's lives. So yeah, it's really interesting to just go through that and see the Murdoch empire in its early form, in the 80s, and how it grew to become so influential on international politics. And it's basically because of just outrageous behavior by newspaper journalists and editors who just decided what the news was going to be because they couldn't wait for shit to happen and just put it out there whether it was true or not. And and that's kind of how we've ended up in this hideous position where we are today, where the papers are so powerful and their owners are billionaires. So yeah.
Oh, Ladybuds.
Ladybuds.
Hey!
How are you doing?
Let me just see, George, have you got it on speaker view right now, or have you got it on grid view? Oh, it's me. I'm streaming.
I mean, I've got it on grid view, but yeah, I don't know.
It's me.
Oh, okay.
I realize I'm the person streaming. How the hell do I?
How you doing, Ladybuds?
You're
muted.
Oh, I need to unmute her. How do I unmute?
It was me.
there we go.
And George Kaywood is in the room as well.
Hey, George.
Hey.
Oh, I can't see him.
He's not in. He's in the.
Oh, I see.
YouTube. Sorry.
In the YouTube. Okay,
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll see if he wants to join.
Right. No, I'm a bit late on this.
We
can
all
I just...
vape too, don't worry.
Go on, what's going on, Ladybuds? How's your life?
Hey, critic. I know you guys are ready to discuss this, but my
Yeah.
soul, in the 9th minute when he was just like, I don't like weed anymore. A decade of my life just went down the toilet. I was like, oh my God, what happened to the best of us? Sorry, just had to like go over something you guys have already discussed. I'm sorry I missed that one, but
Yeah, but what do you make of all that, Ladybuds? But give us your reaction, since it is something we've talked about.
the things that he was saying about, you know, brands and him feeling responsible, as an advocate of vaporizers, I completely understand that, because you're asking people to spend a lot of money on a product, and if it has fallback repercussions, I understand the guilt that someone could possibly feel because of helping support that.
Okay, hold on a minute, Ladybuds. Somebody's got the audio playing through their speakers, and it's
I've just
maybe
muted
it's Paul
everyone
B.
until
That's
you guys fix it. I think it might be Paul B.
Yeah, I think it's Paul B, because when you muted it, it stopped.
Oh wait, I'm gonna
So
mute him. And
that's it. Yeah,
I'm just gonna
that's
chat to him.
perfect. That's perfect. Okay, yeah, sorry, Ladybuds, carry on. We couldn't hear you there for a minute, but it's better now.
I just want to say to him and everyone in the community, it's not the person's responsibility. We say the best things about a vape, the worst things about a vape, and then it's up to the consumer's choice to buy it or not. So I don't think that he should feel responsible for any of that, because his reviews have been always so precise, so on point, and quite fair. So I was really sad that he felt that like any sort of responsibility for that. And I'm just really sad. It's like the end of what's over a decade now, but he has to be true to himself, right? If cannabis isn't for him anymore, if it doesn't make him feel good inside, then it's not something that he should pursue. But just as a consumer and as someone that's watched him on the screen for so many years, I was just a bit sad. I can't hear anyone. Is everyone on mute?
I don't know if everyone's on mute. I've tried to unmute everyone that I can. George, are you muted?
Okay. Yeah, I'm unmuted now. You can hear me, can't you?
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I was just saying it is kind of sad, isn't it? It's it does feel like a bit of an end of an era, to be honest. But I like you say, he's got to kind of decide. I'd like to think that there's a way he can figure out his life where it's not so dependent on making vape videos. It's not his sole sort of source of income or whatever, so that he can get back to doing it as a bit of fun. I think sometimes when you take something that you enjoy and you focus all your energy on it, then it gets a bit boring and you get a bit sick of it. You don't want to do it anymore. And I feel like that might be what's happened with him. So I hope he can get some balance back in his life. But yeah, I always still, you know, it's a tricky thing to do, to review a vaporizer, because it's so subjective. Everybody's different. They're all good for different situations as well. And then you're reviewing it usually within the first couple of weeks or so of it coming out. For a couple of weeks, you might try it before you film something. And you don't know really how it's going to play out over months of using it. So it is a really tricky thing to do. And I think a lot of people watching the videos maybe don't get that it's hard. Short of getting a vape, using it for a year and then filming the video, you know, maybe that would be a really perfect way of doing it. But then it's too late. Like, people want the video as soon as it's out. So yeah, it's difficult.
And it's hard to wait to see what happens to the vape after a year. There's another one that's replaced it.
Exactly.
Even if you want to have just the good one, or what you see as the good one, and you know in yourself are the good ones, you say, oh, this is really good and this is really bad, and then you get 400,000 people coming up going, oh no, this really terrible thing that you've worked out is terrible, and for all logistical purposes is terrible. I'm looking at you, Switch. And then you get 100,000 people going, oh yeah, the Switch is the best thing. You guys are idiots. You need the rubber seal. You need to spend another 40 quid on a bubbler and make it better. And it's just sort of like, So even when you do everything right, there's people will find some way of making you an asshole. Like
yeah, I have
everyone wants the asshole so much that they can't see when we just try and steer them in the right direction and stop them from spending money on something insane like the Switch. And
no, you absolutely
so badly that they're just like, no, they're obviously trying to do something. Even when you say don't spend £700 on a Switch, buy this that's a quarter of the price, they go, you're trying to rob me. You just want me to buy it from you. And it's like,
wow, it's so anti-Nintendo over here. Damn.
No, Dee's trying to get me to buy
not
that kind of Switch.
Not Nintendo Switch. I'm talking about the Dr. Dabber Switch.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I was a bit lost there. All right.
I'm open about my
Well,
views.
so anti-Switch. Damn.
I am Dr. Dabber. I'm so sorry, but
Yeah.
Well, what were you going to say, Max Vapor? You're trying to get in there, yeah?
Well, unfortunately, I feel responsible for Bud quitting because I actually lent him my Dr. Dabber Switch as one of his last ever videos.
Oh, shit.
And maybe he was so disappointed in it, he just decided to call it quits.
It just sucks,
no,
man. People expect different.
Sorry, I was going to touch on you talking about how you just can't win on the internet. We manufacture vaporizer products. We manufacture e-nail controllers, and due to the Corona situation, we've effectively been out of stock of our flagship product for the last 4 months. And we just finished manufacturing them over the weekend, so I'll have them up for sale in the next few weeks. So I posted a first ever sale we've ever done in our entire history as a company for 5 years. I decided, hey, you guys can come get these for the cheapest price we've ever offered. And I all I got so far was backlash for people who bought them 6 months ago at the normal retail price.
Oh my God.
That's the problem, man. Right
It's
there.
just you just can't win on the internet. There's always and I see it on Reddit. Like I talk to Bud every once in a while. I haven't in the past few months, but I always watch his videos and everything. And you just see it all over Reddit. Like people are personally blaming him for them not liking their Ghost, basically. And I don't get it. So.
That's so weak, eh? Like, can you imagine like buying a record and like not liking it because some critic recommended it, and then like going to that critic and saying to him like, you said this record was good, but it fucking sucks. And there's this extra step there that like it's absurd to me. Like I'm looking at this like it's crazy to me.
And it's funny because the original price of the Ghost is like $379 or something like that, which was very similar to what our product costs. So I'm very familiar with like people do their research before they spend that amount of money. And I wanted a Ghost for the longest time. I was like, oh, this looks like a cool vape or whatever. But I'm like, $400, like it, you got to convince me to pull the trigger on that. And, I watched the videos and I still wasn't convinced. But, when they lowered the price to 200 or whatever, I bought one. And, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but I don't hold anybody responsible for me purchasing a vaporizer. I have the Dr. Dabber Switch. If you find someone to blame for that, then, I'll bring out the pitchforks. But otherwise, yeah, I don't make the connection between someone making a purchase and not liking it and then blaming it on someone else. So.
Yeah, it's like just because you listen to Limp Bizkit, like I get it. Like you listen to Limp Bizkit and you love Limp Bizkit, but like I get it. But maybe someone talked you into that. Like maybe someone like.
But maybe perhaps like a decade ago when there were only 1 or 2 reviewers reviewing any one product, you could actually say, oh, actually, this was all the information I had. But in this day and age, you have social influencers, you have people that have bought and are uploading reviews. Like there is no excuse to actually just blame one person when there's such a vast majority of people to draw knowledge from. User experience, other companies, like there are so many people to turn to now for information. So I don't think that any one person could take that big responsibility of blame just for themselves.
And it's such a tall order to recommend someone a vape anyway, because it's usually quite a big amount of money to drop on something. especially for someone who's like new to vaping and don't quite know what they like yet. So it's really hard to just then be like, you recommended me this thing and it's rubbish and I hate it, because it's like it's so specific to the person, and it's such a difficult thing to do anyway.
They're a really personal thing, and like they sometimes change with your humors as well. Like I can tell you from like having purchased both musical instruments and vaporizers that it's somewhat similar. Like obviously I wouldn't go and like try 5 different of the same mighty and then go, oh, this is the mighty out of the 5. The best. That's insane.
More like a synthesizer than the guitar, right?
Yeah,
you know, you're talking about like
it
with
is
it.
really like synthesizers in a way, and it's like the idea that if you buy a synthesizer module that might be like maybe not the best one, but some people have uses for it and some people love it. Like it's actually the mainstay of certain like weird lo-fi musicians who only use that or something. And then you buy it and you want to make fucking EDM, like mainstream, the most basic music, and then you buy it and you're like, it doesn't do it. It doesn't do the thing. And then you blame you can't figure out how to blame, especially because the thing that you have to be angry at is inanimate and it doesn't respond to you being angry at it at all. It's completely soulless.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and the strange thing, I think we're going
When you
back
smash them against a hard surface, they react quite well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like Ghost's marketing was that they were the best vaporizer. Their whole deal was that they were better than everyone else, and then everyone blamed like us or anyone who's talked about it, because it's like I was never the biggest fan, but I was never going to say it was the worst.
I still don't think it's a bad vaporizer, and actually,
I
a
still use mine like every once
yeah,
in a
a
while.
lot
You
of people
need
love
big
it.
capacity lungs for it. I think that was my main
Yeah.
problem with the vaporizer. You need to be able to like suck on it for an extended long period with a gush.
Yeah,
to, like,
you
get
had to get like everything had to be seated. I think it was just like too finicky for most people.
Yeah.
And
You have
you
to-
like touch it the wrong way and you don't get a good hit anymore.
Yeah, and they mispitched it, right? They pitched it like the Mighty, but it's not like that, right? It's more fiddly.
I mean, Mighty is my favorite go-to portable, and I'm quite touchy about the subject because I've been saying it's my favorite for 5 years now. So it still holds its weight with me.
Yeah, I've had it for about 5 years too, but like it's funny because I've got these butane vapes which are like way more intense. It's interesting, like the Mighty one is like so much low, like it's so like low temp compared to those other ones. It's funny because like I'm just used to smoking joints or whatever, so like when you try
And
these
for
things,
the no combustion crew, I haven't actually physically smoked in quite some time, although when I was in Cannabis, someone passed me something that was like this, and the smoker in me couldn't resist, and I took a few pulls of it. It was like the top shelf of top shelves with like how many hundreds of grams of hash rosin inside, and it still tasted like an ashtray.
Yeah.
wait, so what are the more like outrageous like industry weed events that you can go to? Because like I've been to a single one in America because it's legal there, and I guess you get like big ones, like I guess you get ones in the UK and stuff too, right? Like, or like not weed events, sorry, but like
Kind of friendly
smoking events, yeah, or whatever. Sorry, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you guys know it.
CBD. We love those 3 letters.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but like
we
I
don't
mean,
really have, what kind of? I mean, I guess we used to have Product Earth, but is that still happening? What's going on with that? I guess it's not going to happen this year, is it?
I don't think any events are going to happen this year. I don't think
Right.
we'll have events until 2021, maybe April, May, June next year is when we'll be allowed to like gather again in small groups. But if you're talking about what there was, Cannabis in Europe was probably the largest one.
That's the big one.
Gatherings, yeah. It's because like the Brits go over, the Americans come over, all of the smaller European countries are there, so it's a really good base to have a lot of people, and they're a lot more canna friendly. Here in the UK, there are a lot of underground places, none which we'll mention on our live, but there is such a great sense of community here in the UK. Everyone has their own bubbles, you know, the smokers stick together, the vaporists stick together, the heady glass people kind of stick together, and everyone has their own solidarity events. There are some big ones that are quite open. We have 420 Hyde Park. We have the Brighton Green Pride event. Those are free events. A lot of community people just go and gather.
Are there like industry vape events in the UK, or is that legal? Or can you do that? Do you guys have like industry events?
Not
Sorry, I'm
really.
just totally ignorant.
No, I mean there are like
Nothing like
e-cig vaping events.
That kind of
but,
thing. But the dry
yeah,
hood thing is way too
not
niche.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I mean, I've hosted a
Interesting.
few, but not more than X amount of people in attendance. So you wouldn't have like 1,000 people going to said vape
Not like
event.
an open
Yeah,
event.
yeah.
And we just don't have the capacity here in UK. In America, you guys, or in Canada, you guys have quite a large population in a particular area that a lot more people go to. But I think because of the legalities here, it's a lot more difficult to organize bigger events, you know.
No, totally. I used to live in Australia. It's even worse there, or like in New Zealand. Like the smaller you go and the more like obscure,
Right.
the worse. Yeah, yeah, for
But the
sure.
more the sense of community is, you
Yeah,
know,
well, it's yeah,
with the
yeah.
group.
It's not an industry like that. It's a different thing. Yeah, of course. Like you guys would have seen, like in your guys' lifetime, like it turn into an industry from something that wasn't an industry, which is the same. Like all my musician friends, like didn't start out trying to make money or anything, and then turns out that they're making money. You know what I mean? Like it evolves like that. All these things evolve like that.
Still only just really happening here in the UK. You know, we've only
That's
just got legal medical cannabis here only in the last like year or whatever. So yeah,
That's right.
It's pretty new.
That's right. But hey, if you could open up some of those underground, like those grows that they got here for like everyone in Europe, that'd be sweet. Like,
So what I can say is by using CBD and such, I'm gonna.
Nice.
CBD companies out there. We used to host walk by events by having or renting a building in like central London, and then we'd get the walk by people, you know, and then I'd get them to try vaporizing or dabbing, and I'd have a range of vaporizers there to talk about, because you can use CBD now, so it's such a good gateway to educate like the bigger masses. We already have the community, you know, like the community is always going to be there. In order to outreach to other people, you need to talk to people that aren't necessarily into cannabis or into vaporizing, or they're smokers, or they're shisha smokers, or you know, they're different, they inhale into their lungs a different way, and this is CBD vaping is a way of introducing people into the cannabis industry.
That's definitely the London approach, because I've seen loads of CBD places opening up, and which like looks like they're like preparing for like legalization of cannabis. I assume. I mean, I'm just assuming, but looking at those places, like, I mean, you can make a certain amount of money out of CBD, but it's a matter of time, right?
It's just about educating the masses, isn't it, in order to get them on board, so that one day when we are allowed dispensaries, it's not a big shock to the system because you've already had these CBD shops pop up.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
already a big green leaf on the high street. People are getting used to it. You can go on Netflix now and you can watch a TV show about it. Like yesterday we were watching, I mean, it's a garbage TV show, honestly. You can tell that whoever put it together doesn't usually put together cooking TV shows, because the set.
I like that show. You're talking about the one with Khalees.
Yeah. But
I like that show. That's a good show.
They had the grill on, but they don't have extractor fans. So they just set up these fucking commercial grills. They put an unseasoned planche out. So all these people started putting their food on the planche, but it had never been seasoned, so it just stuck to the surface. So there's just all these quick shots where they cut to the food cooking, and then like a chef like desperately scraping salmon off of the surface. And it was just such like, you could tell it must have been really hectic on the day, because if you look carefully at the end of it, both Khalees and the guy are like really coughing, and they're like really red-eyed, even though they didn't eat any of the food, and they're just really uncomfortable and like really stressed out and looking around each other. So I can.
Are you talking like Khalees, like milkshakes, Khalees? Like
yeah.
All
She
right.
hosts a show. It's called Cooked with Cannabis. It's called. Yeah, it's good. It's like a Master Chef, but with cannabis. On Netflix.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, people are starting to become really acclimatized to it. It's like really normalized. Like even my like gran was talking about CBD now, so it's kind of like, you know, people are really getting to grips with it, and it's starting to become very present, and more people are sort of open to even touching the CBD. Whereas before it was kind of, any association with that green leaf would be completely wrong. Whereas now CBD is completely, in a way, accepted. It's got mainstream.
And even the word hemp, right? Like, so I remember I bought some hemp milk once and put it into my mum's fridge, and she opened it and just saw this cannabis leaf, and she started freaking out. She's like, "You've got drugs in my fridge. How did you even get this?" Like, I've just been doing, obviously I'm from quite a different background. We're quite a strict family, and so I've just been trying to leave subtle things around the house, like a hemp face cream or like a CBD balm, or like you just spread it around so they become familiar with the actual cannabis plant itself. I find that still the plant is so shocking to so many people.
I mean, when I was a kid, actually, I remember like my parents are quite sort of open and chill about a lot of stuff like this, and my dad's a big environmentalist, so he ended up getting some trousers that were made of hemp. But because I was a kid, and obviously I'd had all the talks in school where it was like, say no to drugs, drugs are bad, kids. And I was like, "Oh, Dad, your trousers are made of drugs." On fire and like make us all crazy. And he was like, "No, the plant doesn't work like that." But I was convinced. I was like, "No, you've got drug trousers on. I can't believe that."
It's about the right kind of people giving out the right kind of information and education, isn't it?
But we didn't do it in the end.
We've got like 60 years of prohibition and bad education out there that we need to compete with. So I think the more people that come out of the green closet, I like to call it. It took me a while. When I first came out, I didn't show my face. Like, it was a big deal for me to show my face. I had to give up a lot of stuff in my personal life in order to be so open about talking about cannabis. So I know a lot of my friends and peers, I like to call them, people that are in legal offices, accountants, doctors, lawyers, teachers, they can't come out, like, due to the legality of it. So I think the more comfortable people become as a whole, the more we'll have good education out there.
Yeah, it's the exact argument that like the Tories were saying, like you shouldn't legalize medical for exactly that reason, right? Which I love. I'm only commenting on the irony, but I love that. Like, you're right, exactly right. Is that the more you can introduce it slowly, obviously, but yeah, cracks me up.
I was gonna say I'm in Florida in the United States, and we only got a medical program here within the last 4 or 5 years, I want to say, and we've only been able to buy whole flower for the less than a year, I believe, or maybe just a year now. Previously, it was like vape pens and stuff like that you could buy only. And even though we have the medical program here and it's super easy to get, like there's still the stigma, that people that have the medical card, like they won't willingly volunteer that information to other people. Like you're still judged just as if it was still illegal, and there's still that old stigma that you were just talking about attached to it. So like it seems to be becoming more and more accepted, but it's interesting that, even though it's now like a legal product and I can go down the street and buy it if I want, like I'm still judged for that by certain circles.
Yeah, we've got a weird situation here in the UK where it's legal, but and this isn't going to make a lot of sense to Americans, I guess. It's legal, but it's legal only if you've got private healthcare insurance, which is really normal for Americans. But over here in the UK, it's really rare to have private healthcare insurance because everybody gets free healthcare from the government. So you can't actually get medical cannabis from the free healthcare from the government. So that means you have to pay a private healthcare provider so that you can get it. So at first it was really, really expensive. I mean, it's still really expensive, but at first it was like, $2.5 grand for a prescription or something. The good thing is over the last year, a bunch of companies have crowded into this tiny little marketplace for this brand new medical cannabis market in the UK. And they're all undercutting each other. So they brought it down, I think, to around £500 for a prescription now, something like that. So it's way, way cheaper than it was. it's still expensive compared to, I think, what Americans pay for medical cannabis, and it's not available on standard government healthcare. So
And it's not
we've got a
available
way
to
to go.
everyone. It's not available to everyone. There's only specific illnesses that
Right.
qualify. You can't just be
Yeah.
a patient and ask for.
Yeah, it's not the same as, like, I think in California you can go and see a doctor and just say I'm having trouble sleeping, and they'll give you a prescription for cannabis.
Right.
I think in the UK it has to be some sort of chronic condition,
Yeah.
chronic pain.
In Florida,
or something like
it has to be
Epilepsy,
a
yeah.
certain number of conditions as well. Like in California, you can just go in there, you know, and,
Right.
and they'll give you one. But
Yeah, but in
yeah.
California, it's just a discount anyway. It's just
yeah,
a discount.
but here they really, like, the lawmakers, at least, I don't know if it's for good or bad, but they really tried to, like, not do it the same way. So they, like, you know, made you jump through loopholes to get your card initially. It's not so bad now that we've had it for a few years, but initially, you know, it was only like you had to have AIDS or like you know, cancer, brain tumor or something like that to be able to get it.
Mm. Yeah, so, you know, I guess we're all
Yeah.
doing it in different ways.
Yeah, but
Getting
now
it-
everyone has anxiety, so you can, you know,
Yeah.
they so that's like the loophole now. But like you were saying, the medicine here is so expensive that I don't know how most people even afford it.
Yeah, like I've heard someone say that like Facebook is responsible for legal weed because it creates the anxiety in modern society that lets everyone get that subscription in California, you know. Yeah.
Thank you. I know you're watching.
Thank you, Zuckerberg. Exactly.
You're out there grilling them meats and watching us.
And he's like developing VR, which is a very like weed vibe thing, I reckon. So yeah, it's not all bad. It's like a mixed bag as usual.
We still haven't managed to figure out how to stream VR games. We've both got actually Oculus headsets, D and I, but we
Really?
haven't figured it out.
What kind of VR headsets you guys got?
The Facebook ones, Oculus.
I've got some Rifts or something.
Is it Oculus Quest? Oculus Quest. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got one of those. It's amazing. That thing's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like
That thing's a total trip. It's like LSD, that thing to me. It freaks me out. Yeah.
Delia and George set me up on that one where it's like you go up to the top of a building and they
Oh my God.
set me up a plank to walk along. And I was probably
No. Oh my God. I tried that game where someone put a plank in the room, like that's in the same spot as the plank, and you walk along the plank. Yeah, you get the vertigo from dropping off.
It's
It's
so weird.
crazy.
Yeah.
fan in our
Yeah,
faces.
yeah. Delia was like, wait, let me get the fan pointing this way, and like was just watching me kind of wobble along this plank.
We're like so pathetic to future people. Like this is so lols. It's like you know, like Nickelodeons, like where people used to watch like someone filmed like a tree growing like over time, and that was crazy. Like that would blow your mind. That's what we're watching on VR. Yeah, like just some stunts.
They're all
Yeah,
meant to be like amateurs.
yeah, but it's so sick. It's crazy. It's very intense. Like very, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very immersive. It's really like the graphics are really atrocious if you really pay attention to
Yeah,
it.
Quest
But
is.
it
Yeah,
still sucks you in. It really sucks you in.
like Quest sucks. The visuals, but
But
You
like,
can
thank
plug
God
the-
they are though. To be
Yeah.
honest, because I
Yeah.
play them like zombie shooting games, and I have a massive problem with zombies anyway. They really hit the fear spot in me for some reason. But like, thank God they're really cartoony, because if they weren't, I would leave this like seriously upset.
You can plug the Quest into a computer and actually play more advanced games. So
Yeah.
you
Is
have
that via Steam or something? Do you have to
if you
use
think
Steam?
via
Yeah.
Steam or something if you have a better PC. So you could play that new Half-Life game, which is supposed to be really good. Like quite
yeah, that looks awesome. But the problem is that if you're into music, you have a Mac, so you can't play it.
No, I have a Mac.
It sucks. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
My
Same.
PC is way too old. I doubt it could handle it either, to be honest.
That's
So,
the
yeah.
thing. Like, yeah, you got to have the extra bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never really used my PC for gaming, so it's kind of never been a requirement for me. I use it for music making and for
Memes.
memes and work, and now video editing. So it's like it's never really been a requirement for me to have the gaming. So it's like I usually game on PS4, or before that, I never really had a games console. Played games growing up. I had a GameCube, so it's kind of like I didn't really have access to the fast world of 3D gaming. I was stuck with my like Nintendo graphics.
Oh, well, you're on the right track though. At least you can just you can get you can get like a new like PC laptop and then use all your shit, and it could have like a fancy thing. You could plug in your headset and everything. I'm really stuck because I learned to use Logic. Like I've learned to use a bunch of stuff, but Logic's an Apple program, so you get stuck. Like if that's your job and that's what you do, then you use Apple stuff. And then you've got a VR headset and you want to plug it in and get better graphics, but you can't do it. It's hard times.
Yeah. You've got to fault your teenage self for choosing that career path and then choosing that specific DAW.
I tried Pro Tools. I remember trying Pro Tools in Ableton. I turned it down, and that was my problem. That was my problem. I chose.
You'd be in the VR dream now.
Yeah, exactly. Like my friend that I live with, he's got a whole Pro Tools set up. He can play hard out games. It sucks.
I think
He's
the puppy
figured it
wants
out,
to
man.
go out.
Oh, look at the dog back.
I'll be back in a few minutes.
Just staring,
we had to
judging
take
us all silently.
we had to take my dog to the vet today, and I got given some news. I have to shave his entire body with clippers.
To the skin.
What?
In, and it's gonna look
body.
fucking hilarious. Because
He's
look,
gonna-
my dog is all
He's only got
body.
short hair
Like, he's
anyway.
just a short ass little meat. Wait, sorry, it's really hard to point the laptop camera. He's a short little meat boy. So it's like, imagine that shaved. It's gonna look like a pig.
He is
Like-
gonna look like a weird
I was having such a stressful time in the vets, and then they told me that they had to shave him, and it just made me like maniacally happy. I was just like laughing and like just going, "This is the best fucking thing."
Hold on, do we personally have to?
Yeah, we personally have to acquire clippers. She was like, I was like, do I have to do this? And she was like, absolutely.
Sorry, can they not do it?
I asked her,
They've
can
got
you?
clip-
No, she didn't have time to shave my dog. I'd already had to shout at them to get this appointment. Yeah, so like I was already pushing it. So it was kind of like
Oh my gosh,
maybe shaving my dog would have been a bit far.
They were like, "Come on, it's coronavirus. You've got time
Yeah.
to shave your dog.
Well,
like
that's
everyone's
what I
got time
was
to
saying
shave
to
your
them.
dog."
They were trying to like make me come back like 3 times, and I was like, no way.
Absolutely not. What do we do once we've shaved him?
We shave him, and then we wash him with this special shampoo,
Oh my god.
and then we have to leave him in that shampoo for half an hour.
Where do we get the shampoo?
Wow.
Shampoo. I bought the
Oh,
shampoo.
right.
They wanted to
Okay.
they wanted to do a skin scrape to give me some special medicated shampoo. I think it was super confusing. Like,
Jeez, oh. Okay, well, I mean, I guess that's our next group
Paul's
activity.
got his cat out.
Oh,
Do it live on stream.
I always do shaving the dog
Whoa.
live on stream.
look at the size of that amazing kitty cat.
Yeah.
Chunky. Oh,
Oh, well.
what a unit. Love it.
That is a unit of a cat indeed.
Yeah.
We need to plug this laptop in. Where is
We-
my charger?
I don't-
I might have taken it upstairs. I'll go get it.
Is it not that one?
No, that's Ben's charger. I'm just gonna wait. I'm just trying to clean this hideous tube.
The hideous tube.
What's the name of your email product, Max Vapor?
It's called Max Vapor.
Oh, cool. I don't think I've seen this.
It's
what exactly is it?
It's more of a niche product. It's just an email controller but it has like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi built in, so you could like turn it on remotely, and you can integrate it with all
I've
your
actually
home.
used one.
Oh yeah, I've been on a stream with you before. You look familiar now that
Yeah.
I don't want to mention his name, but I've been on a
On that-
Instagram stream with you
Yeah.
before, I believe.
A really great gadget. Really, really great gadget.
Oh, is it finally the accursed pipers?
The accursed pipe is clean. Has been cleansed.
We
Been
also
cleaning
make
this whole time.
another gadget recently. If you have a grasshopper, we make an AC adapter for it, so you can plug it into the wall and use it without worrying about those tiny batteries dying all the time.
That's cool. That's a great idea. Yeah, I like the look of the email. Actually, it looks cool.
Does that
Send me an email, George. I'll send you one as soon as we have them back in a couple
Oh,
weeks.
thanks.
does that
That'd be
eliminate
amazing.
the
Yeah, I
back
love the.
grasshopper as well?
I'm sorry, you're kind of breaking up a little
Oh,
bit.
sorry. Does that eliminate the back end of the grasshopper as well?
Our original one that we made like in-house completely got rid of the back end, but it was a little like we wanted to make it as cheap as possible because like we're making an accessory for someone else's like half discontinued product, so I don't want to like make 10,000 of them and then have them sitting around.
Yeah.
So we kind of did like a pre-order just to kind of judge usability. So we just wanted to make it as cheap as possible. So like I have one here, maybe I can show it. But we manufactured this like ring that screws in the middle of the body, and then the cord would come out.
That's cool.
And then we have this little box, you know, you plug the cord into, and then the other end plugs into the wall.
Nice.
And yeah, so you can just sit there. You know, if it obviously removes the portability, but if you use it with a rig at home or whatever, like you can just hit it all day long.
I actually always thought, you know, the grasshopper would kind of work better. The design of the heater would kind of work better as a mains powered unit. You know, if you just had.
That's kind of the reason that I made it in the first place. Like I ordered one, and the batteries weren't available, and it shipped with one battery. So like I can smoke 2 bowls, and then I'm like, well, what do I do now? Like I just spent $400 or whatever on this thing, and I can't even use it. So I was like, yeah, let's get to work. And the community was kind of asking for something similar too. So
yeah, it's kind of now it's thinking of the way the heat element looks, the kind of coiled spring effect. It's really, really similar to the Tiny Mite, actually.
Have you guys seen this?
Oh no, I mean I've seen all the emails about it, but I haven't seen the real thing.
Yeah, someone sent me one just so I could like make the adapter work on it.
Awesome.
I have to send it back in the next few days. I've taken maybe 1 or 2 hits on it, but
nice.
It's real nice and shiny. Like it feels really nice when you have a new one, you know what I mean?
I mean that it's still
but
like
it's identical to the old one, except I think it has a higher powered heater, and they made the threads brass now, so maybe they don't mess up as much.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you can really see it, but oh, and it doesn't have like it only has 1 light now, like so it just that's it.
Okay. So it's just on, and it's
that's what they say.
Like
that's what they say. I don't know if it's an optical illusion, you know, because by the time the one that I bought in late 2019 like heats up in 3 or 4 seconds already by the time you could even start hitting it. So yeah, I don't know if it's real or not. But yeah, it just has the 1 light, which kind of makes, you know, if it ever goes bad, like kind of makes it hard to diagnose, I feel like.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame. It's still such a eye-catching device. The design of the grasshopper still really stands out, and you see it and you think, oh, what an amazing thing.
Yeah, and I mean just opening that new one, like, and feeling it, you're like, wow, you know, this feels great.
And when you hit it, like, it's mind-blowing how powerful it is for such a small thing. And then, like you say, the batteries run out straight away, the heater goes because of one of the many problems, you know. It's just a shame, really. Hey, George Kayworth. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Not bad.
I've been trying to join you for ages, but my my router was throwing a hissy fit. It's usually quite reliable, but it decided to conk out.
You got a Corona buzz cut?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I was getting sick of the long hair, so I chopped it all off. I'm liking your quiff though, George. It really suits you. It looks good.
It's getting bigger by the week. It's crazy.
I told George when I saw him in person the other day, you just nipped by to get some bits from the warehouse. I said you look very Byronic. You can just imagine like galloping about on some moors.
Oh, Byronic! I thought it was like a bi robot. And that's a weird thing to say to George.
Yeah, like that term that I use all the time.
Yeah.
Bi robotic.
Oh my god, that is ripped.
Yeah, it does force you to make a decision hair-wise. Either you're going to go with the continual expansion of your hair, or you're going to slice it all off and go totally
Well, I mean, speaking
mental
of, I've got
patient.
to cut my own fringe again soon, which is always a crapshoot. It's always terrifying. I'm like, am I going to come out of this like this, or is it just going to be sideways? I've just got to see. I've just got to see, because otherwise I won't be able to see.
I saw a really good graph, I think it just after lockdown started, like an SEO graph of the number of Google searches for like how to cut your own hair from home and how to dye your roots from home. So people are obviously worrying a lot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I've got a cycle to work, and what this helmet does is pushes it like this. So I just can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, or else you've got to push the fringe
Yeah,
back like this, and then when you take the helmet off, your hair's just like.
Yeah, exactly. I look like a cockerel.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess again that's not really a problem because I'm at work with no one else there, but like I would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I've got to head off now actually, because I'm gonna go and ring my stepsister to catch up.
Okay, I kind of have to go too because I can see the Sainsbury's guy is about to deliver my shopping. But what we want to do next time or sometime soon is we had an idea for people to rank the vaporizers that they own and sort of talk about why they put them in that order. So if any of you guys fancy being involved in that, I think we're going to try and do it next Tuesday. So if you've got more than one vaporizer and you feel like you could put them in a ranking order and help us put together a sort of master ranking list of vaporizers, and you want to do that live, then join us here next week, same sort of time. But yeah, otherwise, thanks very much for joining.
Yeah.
And stay safe. Take it easy.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, see you guys later. Have a good one.
See you soon.
See you soon, guys.
Have a great one, everybody.
Yeah, to end it.
Bye all.
Bye, guys. Bye.